Hello, listener. This is Marty V, and I have exciting news. Romance Writers Therapy is now sponsored by Plotter.com. That's Plottr.com. And as you remember from our conversation with Troy Lambert, Plotter is a storyboarding software that makes moving around the pieces of your story in a really color-coded, lovely way, but also very intuitive to use the software. So if you haven't checked out Plotter.com, go do that. Thank you, Plotter, for sponsoring our adorable little podcast, and we're happy to bring you on board.
Okay.
Hello.
Hey there. How are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
So, listener, this is Romance Writers Therapy, and this is Marty V. I am joined by E.F. Dodd, who writes contemporary steamy romance, and we were just talking about how we both have a similar genre in our books. And so, do you want to tell them a little bit about who you are?
Sure. So I am a romance author, obviously. I do indie romance. I tried the traditional publishing route and was thoroughly shattered by enough rejection letters to last me for the rest of my life. And so I just decided if they didn't want to hear my stories, I'd tell them anyway.
I love
that. So I started my own imprint, Sugar Beaver Books. And
that's so cute.
Thank you. And my third novel, A Higher Standard, was just released on May 16th. So I am done with book number 3. It's out there in the world. And then my next book will come out in October. So yeah.
Congratulations. I didn't know that
Thank
your
you.
latest release was so recent.
Yeah, just came out on the 16th, whenever that
Gorgeous.
Tuesday. And it freaks me out that so many books are published on Tuesdays. I don't know who picked that. It seems weird to me.
I actually choose not to publish mine on Tuesday. So I publish mine on Fridays.
See, that's so much better.
Yeah, because then I'm not competing with other people publishing on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's like, of course, my book came out the same day Christina Lauren's book, new book came out. And I was like, well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah. Also, I'm a big fan of making sure that I celebrate the publishing. And so Friday is just the perfect day to do that. Yeah. Have myself a glass of wine, a glass of champagne, whatever I want to do. And have a good time hanging out, being glad I did it.
Yeah.
So
I have done a launch party for my past 2 books.
I love that. That sounds like a lot of work, though.
Well, it's kind of
person.
I loved like that's kind of my thing. I love to have people over. I love to plan parties. Like I'm totally wasted in my quote unquote real job.
What is your real?
Well, I'm in the legal field. Yeah, I'm in the legal field.
Yeah.
So it's like that's not fun.
Yeah.
But the release party I had for A Higher Standard, we did at a tacos and tequila bar.
Cute.
And yeah, so it was really fun. So we just had like a taco bar, and we had, all the tequila you wanted, and it was really fun. We had a great time.
I absolutely love that you did that. So I can't drink. Listener is used to me going on tangents, so please feel comfortable doing it as well.
Sure.
I can't drink tequila.
Oh no!
Because it's the worst thing that's ever happened. Okay, so as soon as it touches my lips, I don't even have to have a lot of it.
Oh God,
but,
you're allergic to it?
I don't know what it is. It's the weirdest thing. I will be totally sober seeming, right? No one around me can tell anything is amiss. But I, in my head, am losing time. I'll just black out. It is horrifying.
That's crazy.
So you and I will be having a conversation. I'm totally normal. And then I'll, in my head, how did we get to this point in the conversation? And then why are we in this room? We were just in the living room. Like,
you're either drinking
and
really good tequila or really bad tequila. I'm not
I think
sure which
it's
one it is.
it's Patron that has done it. I also
Okay.
had it happen with we have friends that live a couple streets down or a couple houses down that are Mexican.
Mhm.
And they went home and we took care of their, their sidewalk and stuff. And they got us really nice tequila.
Oh, good.
And yeah, I can't drink it. So,
Oh, no.
yeah, I was like, I'll give it a shot because maybe it was just the Patron. And then I
Sure.
had that and I was like, no, it's not just the Patron. And then I also am so weirded out in the process of it happening that I don't
Yeah.
tell the person I'm with that it's happening.
Oh, and
It
that
is
just
just
makes
the
it
weirdest.
worse.
I know it does. So hopefully, should I ever accidentally have tequila again in my life, I will
Yeah.
tell people hey, this is what's
a
happening
thing.
in my brain right now. So
Yeah. Well, ironically,
but I absolutely love that.
We went to Nashville last year with a couple friends of ours, and the guy that we went with, he said, well, you're a tequila drinker. He said, have you ever had Clase Azul? I said, don't even know what that is. Never heard of it. And he says, well, it's in that bottle, and it's this beautiful, blue and white porcelain bottle, and it comes with a bell for the cork in it. So it's when you finish pouring it and you put it back on, you can ring the bell, and it gives you this really satisfying ding.
Oh my gosh, it's beautiful, isn't it? I just Googled it. That is
love it.
so pretty.
I love it so much. And it tastes, I enjoy the taste of good tequila. A lot of people think, how do you enjoy, but I think it tastes delicious. Just a few slices of lime and you're good to go.
Well, and I also I really like the flavor of it in margaritas.
Oh, heck yeah.
I think that that is the perfect flavor combination. But no.
Yeah.
We can't do that here. So
oh, that's unfortunate.
It is.
I feel terrible for you.
There's just a couple of little things that are that's one of them that I'm I really wish I could have tequila.
Oh,
that would be great. But it's okay.
Yeah, there's other things. There's always champagne, There's always champagne. There's always a good glass of red wine. There's always
I just
bourbon.
finished one.
There's always something.
Champagne, wines, I definitely very much appreciate vodka. Vodka's a big favorite of mine. I love it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Perfect. Now that we've
covered all of that, yes. Which, you know what? She wears many hats. So
yeah, it's okay.
It's okay. So we were going to talk about one of Kate's and my absolute favorite tropes, enemies to lovers.
Yes.
And how it's just inherently conflict. You know what I mean? It is so beautiful. So I'm really excited to chat with you about this. So do you kind of want to start us off, or do you want to?
Yeah, I can dive right into that. It's one of my favorites. And I think, honestly, for me, when I think about why is it so popular? Why do people really like it that much? And I think it's and I can't remember the way the saying goes, but it's a lot of people say, love and hate are two sides of the same coin. They're so close to each other because they're both just about this huge, powerful, overwhelming feeling. When you love somebody, you can't hate somebody that you don't care about. If you don't care about the person at all, then they can do whatever and it doesn't matter. But hate comes from just as strong a place as love. And so I think that when you see it turning, from one way or the other, it just really catches your attention. And it's like you say, it's built-in conflict right there. And, there is no romance novel without that conflict.
Well, and I think another thing that we really love about it is I think people really like to believe that people can change.
Sure.
And so I think another great aspect of the trope is that not necessarily that either of them has to change, but their perspective of the other person has to change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I think that there's something, we get an element of redemption
Oh, sure.
in the trope inherently. And I love that.
Yeah. And I think another side of it too is, I mean, we all heard growing up, well, he's only mean to you because he likes you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so he's only your enemy because he's secretly in love with you.
Yeah, which is obviously not lovely messaging, but
No.
like also like it's delicious tension.
Yeah. I mean, it's totally
Yeah.
wrong. 100% wrong.
Oh,
in
totally
real
wrong.
life. But, you know,
In real life, that's not okay,
Yeah.
but we're talking fantasy.
yeah, in
here,
romance
so-
novels, it's great. In real life, don't listen to any of that. But if you look at a lot of, like one of my favorite, I call it enemies to lovers, is Beautiful Bastard by Christina Lauren, where
I haven't read that one. That's on my TBR.
Girl, it's good stuff.
Is it delish?
It's so good. And a lot of people, I haven't read some of her more recent stuff, but from what I understand, more recently, she's been more closed door, I guess. But the Beautiful Bastard series, they are definitely not closed door. It is wide open. But, and I can't remember, Chloe and Bennett, I think, are the main characters. And I mean, they are just sniping away at each other. And then it just turns into this really, really deliciously spicy romance. But part of it is, you know, she's like, oh, I hate him so much. And yet.
He's so under her skin.
Exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Another one that borders on almost it. If the tables weren't so even, it would be like bordering on bully romance. I think is Going Nowhere Fast by Katie Wilde. I think is her name.
Oh, okay.
Have you read that one?
No, I haven't read that one.
Oh my gosh, they are so mean to each other and they are so hot. It is a mess.
It's so good. There's one.
And then like
Go ahead.
That was one that had a Dark Night of the Soul that was so intense. I literally cried.
Oh.
And like felt so many big giant feelings about like wanting this to work out for them, but also knowing like we need to come with a giant redemption.
Oh yeah.
Because like, man, that was an angsty ridden book in general, but like deep angst with the with that Dark Night of the Soul.
Oh yeah. And for me, that's the thing that you have to do it well, because it can devolve into things where, you know, you can't be too mean. It can't ever be something that's irredeemable. Like it always has to be something you can come back from.
And like I said, the tables have to be even.
Sure.
We can't have one character taking all the hits, or else, or if they are taking the hits, why are they?
Yes.
Right? Like, do they like know how badly they have wronged the other character?
Yes.
Right?
And do they really make up for it? Because for me, I don't enjoy the bully romances because
it's not my vibe.
It's just, you know, don't want to yuck anyone's
not
yum.
to say that anyone else couldn't.
You know,
absolutely.
If you love it, if that's your thing, I support you fully. But for me,
100%.
It's just there's never enough of a redemption arc in those for me to really buy into. All right, I understand why she or he or, you know, they took this person back, you know.
Exactly.
If you're really that, because it can't be cruel, I guess is my viewpoint. Like you can be mean and you can be sarcastic and you can be sniping and all that stuff, and it's great banter even when it's a little cutting. But you can't be cruel to somebody. You're gonna lose me at that point.
Well, and it almost has to be like they're enjoying the process.
Yes.
Right? Like they're taking barbs at each other, but they're enjoying the attention they're getting. They're enjoying like the moment where the strike hits.
Absolutely.
In almost in both directions. Like 0.1 to them, but like I'll get them next time. Right? Like,
oh yeah.
Yeah, the volley's always going.
Yeah. And there's Megan March writes a hero, and his name's Lachlan Mount, and it's just like, okay, I'm in. You got me. I don't need to hear any more than that guy's name. I'm in. But her,
I mean, Mount what?
yeah, her enemies to lovers for that, and I can't remember. I wish I could remember the name of the book. The heroine's name is Kira, and she runs like a whiskey distillery, and he's kind of like an underground guy.
Cool.
So it's a little bit dark romance, not super, but they're enemies to lovers, and it's hot, and it's just that tension and that snap in their conversations when they're talking to each other. It's got that bite, but it never devolves into something that's truly cruel.
So obviously, like, banter
Mm-hmm.
and like arguing seems to be micro trope. Could you think of like another moment in the enemies to lovers, like one of those micro tropes that you hit in order to like really push, right? Like, am I making sense?
Yeah.
Do I need to?
I mean,
okay, cool.
I think with a lot of the enemies to lovers too, it's a lot of opposites attract in there as well, because
well, and a lot of times it's like a misconception.
Sure. Yeah.
That ends up being like the building block.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's always somebody that seems to be more opposite than they truly are. And then once that piece finally turns, that's when you go from enemies to lovers. So yeah, absolutely. I get that.
So like one of my favorites, two of my favorites. There's one where like, particularly that I've seen in hetero romances where like they're enemies to lovers, but then he finds her crying and he's like instantly like, who did this to you? And he's like obviously full of rage because like I pick on you, no one else does, right? And I love that. Like I find that so delicious.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And then another moment I love is like when they have kind of gotten more friendly and like the tables turn to the point where like they have a mutual enemy.
Yes.
And like Roxy Noir did this really well in Enemies with Benefits, where like they are enemies to lovers and then they end up working together unexpectedly. And then there's like a giant award at the end of the season because it's like a wedding planning place or a wedding venue place. So at the end of the season, there's a giant award to like one employee, and they both like team up because it can't be this other guy. Right, like this other guy's a total tool. They both agree on that one thing, and they're gonna team up to make sure he doesn't get it. Right,
I gotcha. Yeah, that's
and
good.
it's just oh, it's so good. If you haven't read that book, it's free everywhere.
Enemies
Read
with
that
Benefits.
book.
Is that what it is?
Enemies with Benefits. I'm pretty much a walking like billboard for that book. It's so good.
That's awesome.
It's so good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll put that on my TBR. It's my ridiculously long TBR at this point.
I completely understand. Text me when you're reading it so we can talk about it because like it's so fun.
Is it on Kindle? It's on Kindle Unlimited.
I got it on Apple for free though. It's on all platforms for free.
I gotcha. I'm looking it up as I'm in a Ice Planet Barbarians kick right now.
Oh, fun!
Or kink, I guess you should say, because apparently I'm into blue aliens. Who knew? Who knew that was the thing I wanted to do? Not me.
You know what? That's one of the best things about romance is it makes you discover new things about yourself.
I'm telling you, I feel like it was an episode of Heaving Bosoms, and where they
so tell me about what episode.
The book
and her
was
her IUD comes out in the book.
Josie and Hyden,
oh my god,
however you pronounce his name, and ironically that is an enemies to lovers, I think.
It totally is, isn't it? Yeah,
allegedly hated her or whatever, but then it was all, like you say, a big misunderstanding. But oh my god, I read the first book in that series.
Was one of the funniest episodes. That was so funny.
I thought I was gonna die.
Oh my god, yes.
I laughed so hard. So funny. Oh my god.
Another favorite episode from them is Bully.
Yes, the French doors.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The French doors.
Yes, I could not. Like
So
I heard them talk
fun.
about that book, and I thought that like there's no way I could read this now. There's just no. Not
No.
that I probably would have anyway, because it's not my
It's a bully
preferred
romance,
thing.
yeah.
But I
Yeah.
just was like, I cannot. I just cannot.
Oh my gosh.
But it
That
cracked
was
me up.
that was one of the best. Oh my gosh.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I have a friend that like re-listens to that episode, and I'm like, I totally get why. That's the funniest crap.
Oh God, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. But yeah, so I'm like I say, I'm on a total Ice Planet Barbarians kick right now, and I have gone fully blue alien.
I love that for you. That's gorgeous.
And it's like I'm trying to explain it to people, and they just look at me and they're like, "That's what?" And I say, I know that the words that are coming out of my face right now seem wrong. And
Like they wouldn't work, but I'm telling you it works.
Because one of my really good friends, she reads some, but she doesn't read near as much romance as I do. And, you know, she was like, how is this even a real thing? And just like the look on her face when I was telling her about it, I was like, you just need to read one and then you'll understand. I cannot, like I say, the words I'm using are not communicating the truth. It's literally like when they land on the Ice Planet Barbarians planet and they need to go to the Elder's Cave to get the language dump. Like, people need to get the Ice Planet Barbarians language dump.
Funny. That is so funny.
Because my English
That's one of my
words
favorite
are
things
not
to
getting
like. So like every once in a while, like explain things to my husband
Mm-hmm.
about like, you know, like he didn't understand like monster romance as a genre.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of like explaining it to him and how like how much more inventive the male penis becomes.
Oh my God. There are things I didn't even would never even have considered.
Would never have even imagined.
I mean, I applaud these ladies because
Oh my
wow.
gosh. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, he's just like staring at me with his
Mhm.
mouth open. I'm like, yeah, it's a thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a thing. And he's like, I just never would have even thought. I'm like, I know.
Oh yeah. Well, what's
know.
funny is my boyfriend and I will listen to podcasts and stuff when we're going to sleep, and so
Yeah.
he would say, well, I can't remember what he called heaving bosoms. Oh, what did he call them? He didn't call them the sex girls, but basically that was the emphasis behind what he was saying. But he was like, hey, he was like, why don't you put on, you know, because he likes, you know, their voices are soothing to him or whatever. Well,
That's hilarious.
There's
There's no way I could fall asleep with podcasts on in general.
Oh yeah, well,
but like
we used to
with
listen.
them
Mhm.
on, I get too energized.
Oh yeah, well, I didn't do it when it was new episodes. Like I would,
Okay.
yeah, I would listen to.
You'd only
ones.
fall asleep to old
Mhm.
ones.
And so I fell asleep, and then the next morning he said, "I'm sorry, did I hear something about a minotaur?"
That's hilarious.
He was like, I'm not going to talk about what that minotaur was doing, but I'm pretty sure somebody said minotaur. I said, yes,
okay.
Yes, you did. Because it was when they did the red?
Glory.
I think that's what that was. It wasn't Morning Glory
Oh,
Milk and
okay.
Farm, but it was
Okay.
red. And he was like, he just looked at me, he's like, what are you even doing?
I don't have to explain myself to you.
You mind your business. You wanted to listen to it. It was your idea. You know, welcome to my
You
world.
wanted to listen to the sex ladies,
Mhm,
okay?
Exactly.
Now sit down and let's have an education.
Exactly. But yeah, I will never forget. I mean, he's just sitting there and his delivery was so dry. It was like we were having coffee
That
the
is
next morning.
amazing.
And he just looks at me and he's like, so, I hear something about a minotaur?
That is so funny.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm up here in Michigan in the Bible Belt, right?
Try
so
living in
even-
the South.
Look, Michigan is south, just north.
Oh,
Okay?
girl.
Like,
I don't know.
like, without
Detroit and Flint like saving our elections, in my opinion. Like, I don't know what we would do.
You're lucky. You're lucky.
Oh God, I love Detroit. Like, thank you, Detroit.
I hear you.
Oh my gosh. But we are the state that brought you Betsy DeVos, so Kate, I'm sorry if you have to cut all of that.
Yeah.
Anyway, we are not a political. We're not a political podcast, but like we are also.
You also have a soul
of opinions.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
So, but yeah, so I'm up here in the Bible Belt, and like even if you are no longer a part of the church, there is still like a level of conservative, like social behavior, right? And so like I have my girlfriends that like we graduate high school together. And we're still very, very close. And like every once in a while, we'll just pick a book and read it together. And randomly, like I was like, hey, how about Morning Glory Milking Farms? thinking that they also had been like bombarded with the topic on TikTok.
Sure.
Right? They were not. And they're like, okay, great. Downloaded. Starting reading now. Right?
Lord.
And one of my friends, like, when she starts reading something, she does not stop. Like, page 1 means that this is now a commitment.
Yeah, we're
and
in
she
it
must
to win
also
it.
read all of the sequels. Yeah. She cannot stop, right?
Oh, yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, okay. All right. Well, here we are. And not that they wouldn't enjoy it or not that I suggested it as a joke, but I also figured that they'd be like, hey, that's not really my vibe. But I usually recommend things that are their vibe. So they trusted me. And then like later, like a day later, they're texting me like, what the fuck am I reading right now? Because this can be described only as Minotaur porn.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And yet, you're reading it.
It was an education.
And you're like, this is really a nice, like, it's a sweet story.
And I did tell them, I'm like, I hear that it's actually really heartwarming. So, like, let's see it through.
Yeah.
And, of course, my buddy is like, I couldn't stop if I wanted to.
And she's a better woman for it. She finished it, and now she knows.
is. Also, now she's like, my Kindle is just full of spice.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she's hot to the touch.
Well, I sent, one of my girlfriends is reading them along with me. I'm on book
Oh, fun.
7, I think, and she's on like book 4 of the Ice Planet Barbarians. And
yeah,
there's another friend of ours, and she was like, "Oh, y'all are crazy." So I just sent her the first book like through Amazon. And you know how Amazon will send you an email and it'll say your package was delivered, and it told me in this email it said it was handed to the resident. And I texted her and I was like, I got photographic proof that you got this thing. You have no excuse.
Open it up.
Yeah,
break the spine.
Now,
Let's
girl.
go.
I know you got it. You can't deny it. But, oh gosh. But I think it's so cool though that there are these so many aspects of the romance genre that I had no clue were even out there.
Absolutely.
Zero clue. I mean, if you would have told me there was a Minotaur sperm bank romance, I would have told you you were batshit crazy. Like I would have never believed that a year
well,
or two
and there's
ago. But now I'm like,
absolutely,
sounds like something I should read.
I have been awakened.
Yeah. Like I say, I didn't know it was my thing. Apparently, it's my thing.
Well, and like that's one of the things I love about romance. Also, is that like it is such a safe place to explore.
Absolutely.
Right? Like you're reading something like, oh, this makes me feel a certain way, or oh, I don't want to touch on this. I'm gonna skip pages. Right? Like now, like you have this really safe place to like understand that part of you.
Yes.
But like there's definitely a time in my life that if somebody had been like, hey, there's a book about that's Minotaur porn, I'd be like, what purpose is that serving society?
Absolutely. I would have made the same face
definitely
that people make when I talk about it.
Absolutely. And like I'm just so glad that like romance is like taking its moment to be like, hey, You don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if it's not for you, that's fine. But, like, also, like, you don't have to make me feel like I need to read this in silence and dark.
Exactly.
Right? Like, I can totally embrace this part of something that I really find a lot of joy in.
Exactly. Well, it's like in that movie, The Family Stone, when he's like, let your freak flag fly, man. Let it fly. Just let it be free, and you do you.
Enjoy. So your recent book was Enemies to Lovers, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. They don't stay.
Okay, what is the title of your book also?
It's A Higher Standard.
A Higher Standard.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, and they don't stay enemies for too long. I mean, he's pretty much, he sees her and he's like, well, hello. And she's much more, this guy is my enemy than than he is for her.
Which I think also, as a reader, I really appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, I personally prefer in, like, a hetero enemies to lovers when the guy has come around faster than the girl.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just, there's a bit of that, like, chase.
Oh, yeah.
And her, like, batting back that's, like, really nice.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yes. And for me, I feel like, I don't want to say it's more realistic because that's not really what I mean. But I feel like it's more believable to have a hero who is instantly like, yes, this girl is awesome. She's pushing me away. I'm not going to be creepy about it. But, I feel like there's something here, and I'm going to listen to her when she, says no, and I'm not going to be, it's not non-con or anything like that, but it's still just like he sees her for the awesome chick that she is. Yeah. And he's in it. And he's in it until, and he's going to be there when she finally realizes, hey, I like him too.
Yeah. I love that. So where is your book set?
It's set in the fictional town of Mimosa, North Carolina. Which is, in the book, is located about an hour outside Charlotte.
Okay. Is this like a location that you've written in previously?
No, so this is this is the first book in what I hope will be a 3-book series. Because excuse me, Gideon is the hero, and he is, I love that name. He is a developer from Boston who comes down to Mimosa. And Everest is the hometown girl who lives in Mimosa, and she runs an equine rescue there. And one of the external conflicts is that Gideon wants to buy the land next door to her rescue to develop it, and she is not a fan. And so his business is called Standard Development, and he has 2 partners, Jameson and Davidson. And my hope is, well, I shouldn't say my hope. They will each have their own book. So that's the next 2 books in that series.
Sweet. Is it like a small town?
Yes, Mimosa is small town.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So it's like a small town, enemies to lovers, big city, country conflict, romance.
I'm currently writing in a small town romance and starting like a 4-book series.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So my small town will come out the first book will come out in an anthology in September or October. I can't remember which month.
Oh, nice.
But it's coming. I have to get it done.
Yes, so. I know the feeling. I just sent my fall book to the copy editor on Sunday, and I was like, thank you, Jesus, and whoever else helped me get this thing done.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I am feeling the pressure, Dodd. Okay, so like I have this book due in September, right? And I'm doing really well on that deadline. But the sequel is due for a Second Chance anthology in December. December 1st.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like, okay, so between now and then I have to have it written and edited while also doing the editing on this first book beforehand. So it's like, oof, I'm okay. But like, I found a trick for my brain that's working out really well.
Please share.
Yeah. Okay, so do you listen to the Rebel Author podcast?
No.
Okay, it's fantastic.
Okay.
It's an interview podcast. But so Sasha Black talks a lot about Clifton strengths, and her number one Clifton strength is competition. And I have not taken the Clifton strengths, but I can tell you competition is high for me.
Okay.
Right? Like I know this to my bone, right? Like it's real. And so she was talking about how she found this technique of like doing like quick goals that she could meet or beat, right? I'm like, oh, that sounds like a really good idea. And so what it did was like it quieted her like activator that was telling her that she wasn't getting anything done, because that is another thing I really struggle with, is like I'll be like working on it, but I'm not working as fast as I want to be working on it. And so now my brain is telling me I'm not accomplishing anything. Right? Like,
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's stressful. So I have started doing these short-term goals. So like I have a scene that is due by the 25th. I just have to finish that scene by the 25th. Because I don't like to count word count, because that also messes with my brain.
Oh yeah, I can't do daily word counts.
I can't.
No.
Yeah, because then I'm more obsessed about the word count than I am about the story or about what like I also get like I get blocked because like what is the next word? And I can't let the word count go long enough to get into the story, right? So I focus on scenes getting accomplished. And so giving myself 5 days from ending one scene to the next tends to be a really good number, because it's like a good push. And it's short term enough that it's like in my head. And then also still reasonable that in 5 days I could accomplish this scene.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Does that make sense? Yeah. Yeah. And then I meet it or beat it, and it's like a little dopamine hit where I'm like, I just want to keep on going now.
Oh yeah.
Like
that's the best feeling.
So it's so great. It's so great. But yeah, so that's been tricking my brain, and now that I've discovered this is working, I feel really good about getting this book fully written and the next book done in the timely manner I want.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. And then I have to do the sequel to Just Fake Married because the wheel is always turning.
I hear you.
So
I know exactly how you feel.
So is your goal to write full time, or do you always want to keep that day job?
No, that's the dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the dream. I've had my day job for 20 years at this point. This is just the 20th year this summer. And it's been interesting. It's been a ride. But there's just, even a shit day behind the keyboard is, pretty much better than I won't say the absolute best day, but I just get a lot more enjoyment out of it, because in my job, there's constant conflict. There's always somebody that's on the other side of what you do, hoping that you do it poorly and fail.
Dude, that is rough.
Yeah,
that
is
hard.
Rough. And it's not that, and I mean, a lot of the people are super nice people. They don't do it because they're mean people. They do it because, just like me, it's their job. And so romance is a lot more pleasant a place to coexist, just because there's not that added stress of knowing that it's a constant competition like I have in my job.
Yeah.
You know, the only person I'm really competing against is myself to make sure I get all those words down. And it's a lot more joy in the world of romance.
Good. Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's really been a huge stress reliever for me. I mean, obviously, when you're getting down to the wire on that deadline and you're like, crap.
Yeah.
You know, that's a
I
little
foresee
stressful.
that coming for me.
That's stressful.
That is in my future.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's just, you know, when you write and you go back and you read it and you think, you know, I really like this. And then you hear from somebody that says, I just really enjoyed this and I really related to your characters. And, you know, I just feel like, so, you know, the way that you wrote this really struck me, or the way this happened was so neat. Getting that feedback from people and just knowing that, you know, you've put this out there and it's just added a little more light instead of a little, you know, darkness. It's great, you know, to know that you've made somebody have a brighter spot in their day because of something that you wrote.
And I think that is something that, like, I have seen in a lot of it has not always been reflected as like a positive thing in our society.
Sure.
Right? That like that you're writing a piece of art that brings joy.
Yeah. And
therefore it is less art because it doesn't make somebody hurt.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And so it's just another thing I love about romance. That it's like there's so much room to be happy.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not romance if you don't have that happily ever after. And for people to criticize the genre because of that, that's just small-minded nonsense, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean,
I agree.
It's what makes it great, because you can disappear into that book for a few hours, and no matter what happens between the two people, you know at the end of the day, everything's going to be okay. And that feeling is great.
When it brings us back to that redemption thing that we love about the enemies to lovers is like, I love the payoff of the happily ever after because like I love seeing that things can work out.
Oh yeah. And
that like
you like to see,
I think we have hope in life and like we see it on the page in this.
Absolutely. And I think for enemies to lovers, it's like you said, so much of those are based in, you know, kind of a misconception. I don't want to say it's the miscommunication trope because that makes me insane. But if you do, and it's true of everything, like if you do it right, it works. Sure.
Right? Like if you have a miscommunication trope, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Just handle it correctly, especially since it's one of those tropes people are in high alert about.
Yes, absolutely. And you can't, for me, you can't make that go on too long.
No. And also, like, there has to be a reason why there's this hole in their vision. Right? So if someone is saying, this is not going to be an amazing example because it's right off the top of my head. But if someone is saying, like, like they're having a conflict, they're having an argument, and then one of them says something like it's just not the right time, right? Like there has to be a reason why the person hearing that doesn't take it as like it's not the right time to have this conversation, but they take it as it's not the right time for us to be together.
Yeah.
Right? Like there has to be a reason for them to hear what they hear. And I absolutely love when it works because like as a reader, when I'm reading it and like I see that happen and I know how the person hearing it is receiving that information because we've been in their head and we understand the way they think.
Oh yeah.
And to see it done correctly is like, no, like you just are so invested in this getting fixed.
Absolutely.
But okay, I'm so sorry. I got really distracted.
No, that's okay.
And brought us over there. But we were talking about misconception, not miscommunication, but a misconception.
Yeah, the misconception.
Right? Trope.
And I think that that's really key in a lot of the enemies to lovers romance, because a lot of the reason they're enemies is because there is some, often valid misconception they have about this other person. And then when you peel that back, and authors that do it well, it's that reveal, and you can just feel that the other person just saying, oh my gosh, this person is the person that I want, and I've been wrong. It's a really good feeling, because you get it's part redemption arc, and it's part, if people, really know at the heart of other people that they're not these evil people who are out to get you. At the heart of it, they're just a person like you who has their own problems. And if you can just get past that, you can work through it. And I think that's just, it's so nice to hear that in this day and age, when there's just so many people who are so focused on their own viewpoint and their own beliefs, and they just, seem diametrically at odds with people. It's nice when those barriers come down and you realize you're not that different after all, and you can work through it.
Yeah. And that's like the lovely payoff of the trope, right? And then also to see, like, because you have two people that are like capable of feeling really strongly, and then it's like what you were saying, like that love and hate are so closely connected.
Oh yeah,
like you see them feel so strongly, and then to see those feelings, like, they don't get less intense, they just change.
Absolutely. And I think the other side of it, for me at least, is that a lot of the enemies to lovers romance, you have a very strong female main character, or in the hetero genre, it's not this damsel in distress kind of, fumbling about, oh, I tripped and fell into your arms kind of thing. It's a woman that is very secure in herself and very secure in what she wants out of her life. And she's not willing to just sacrifice that all because of some guy, And so I really enjoy that. And I think that's probably why I gravitate to a lot of the enemies to lovers, because you've got stronger female main characters in those. Like I say, in the cis hetero genre.
Yeah. Well, and then the binding factor has to be so strong too, right? Because if these two people are enemies, they're just going to keep themselves out of a room with each other.
Yeah.
Right? So what keeps on pushing them into the same room? And, like, I think also as a reader, we just really love watching these outside forces just keep on drawing them back to each other.
Oh, yeah. I agree.
Like, it's just so fun.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I don't know. Have you seen that movie? Oh God, what is it? It's old. It's with Jennifer Lopez and George Clooney. Is it Out of Sight, where she's the marshal and he's the bank robber?
I haven't seen that.
Girl,
no,
it's so good. It's so good.
Is it?
And it's like, obviously,
is it like he in a back of a car at some point or something like that? I just remember that in the trailer.
Oh yeah, it's
Out of Sight. Okay, I'll check it out.
It's so good. And you've got that built-in enemies portion of it, because she's like I say, I think she's a federal marshal maybe, and then he's a bank robber, and so she's hunting him essentially, and then it turns into their relationship, and it's really good.
Well, and the stakes there are fantastic, because in order for her to continue doing her job, she can't continue this relationship. Like, oh, those are some good stakes.
Yeah, it's great.
I like that.
It's really good.
Is there anything else that you want to talk about with enemies to lovers that we haven't touched on?
Oh, that's a good question. I feel like I could keep talking about it forever.
I know. I
don't know that there's anything else. I think I would just say, like I say, for me, one of my favorite parts about it is when the guy just realizes that he's this crusty, it's kind of like the grumpy sunshine too, I guess. And where he's just built up this crusty exterior, and he's trying to just keep everybody out, but she has this special power to just always make him, he's not quite letting her in, but he wants to make sure she's okay.
But she's under his skin. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I do too. I'm trying to think of if there's any other like moments, because a lot of times the enemies to lovers kind of sits early in the story, right?
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think of if there's any other like moments in the trope that kind of have their moment more towards like the end of the story, more towards like those last couple beats.
I think for me,
I guess,
go ahead.
Sometimes like if we're thinking in terms of like kind of Pride and Prejudice, where like their preconceived notions now just have such a easy place to sit at the table. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then also like I've seen it in sometimes with the trope where like the things that they've said have come back. And I'm thinking of, and it's an adaptation of Enemies to Lovers, but I'm thinking of Bridget Jones' Diary, when he starts reading like the things that she said about him. And like then he's walking away and she's freaking out and like all of that. Yeah. So okay, a moment where it sits at a different spot in the story. Now I really want to watch Bridget Jones.
That's such a good movie.
I love that movie.
So good.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so the moment where Colin Firth was like such a part of like my sexual awakening.
I hear you.
But the moment where he comes down the stairs at the dinner party to tell her that he likes her just the way she is. And then he gets snapped at and he starts walking up the stairs and he takes like the first 2-3 steps like a normal person. And then after that he's like skipping 2 steps at a time and like practically jogging up the stairs.
Oh yeah.
I rewatched that so many times.
Oh yeah.
Like I would just watch it on a loop for like 10 minutes at a time because it was just like it just fit like that like piney anxiety feeling, like you could just see it manifested in those like couple of steps, and I just find that to be some of the best like little character building moments.
Oh yeah. Well,
right
like
there.
When have you read The Hating Game?
Yeah.
Like when he takes her to his apartment or whatever and she doesn't get it, but it's like the walls are the same color as her eyes because he's so,
he's so
secretly
obsessed
in love with her. And I was like, oh my God.
And that's kind of a great moment where like that one has a really great moment where he doesn't realize how much he's hurting her with this behavior.
Oh yeah.
And when he finds out, like he course corrects. And I think that's
that's
one of the strongest parts.
Or when she thinks that Danny's the one that sent her the roses and it was really him. And then it's like you don't know that until late, and it's just like, oh my God.
Oh my gosh. Or like he clearly thinks that she doesn't actually have a date.
Yes.
And he's just like so deeply in her head and she's like freaking out. And she thinks he's just doing it to be mean.
Yes. There's so many moments in that book that so good. So good.
Yeah.
Delicious.
I do really love the description of his eyes. And like I distinctly remember it from Heaving Bosoms when she's talking about like, because she read it. I think Erin read it on the episode where it's like his eyes are the color of like when you feel like you have a really important job interview and you're wearing white and the blue ink pen in your pocket leaks and his eyes are the color of that blue like peacock ink on your shirt. And it's like those are the moments where I'm like, gosh,
it's
okay, how do I find that moment in my book right now?
I know.
Like how do I take that like abstract thing that is so wrapped in so many different feelings and put like, where is that moment in my book right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's just certain people that like they've worked words in so many different ways that I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
where did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. It's, I mean, when I read that book, I'm just like, it's so perfect to me in so many ways. Oh, so good. Oh, and then do you read anything by Lucy Score?
I have only read one book by Lucy Score.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I know. I'm a strange duck that way.
Well, her books are long.
She writes,
and I love
I was going to
them.
say her books are a lot longer than I tend to read for romance.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to find that like I want them to move faster.
Yeah.
Right?
I get that.
And like I'm obviously the odd dog out because like everyone loves Lucy Score.
Yeah, I mean,
like I am
books,
the strange one here.
And I'll always read her books, but some of the ones that she wrote, I mean, the latest ones, Things We Never Got Over and Things We Hide from the Light. I mean, they're both really good and I enjoyed them, but they're not my favorite of her books. Like one of them that she wrote, By a Thread, it's a really good enemies to lovers. At one point the heroine is working at a pizza parlor and the hero comes in and she spells out "fuck you" and pepperoni on his pizza.
Oh, cute. Yes, love that.
Yeah, it's really,
I love that.
Yeah, it's really good. And then of course he ends up getting her a job at his company or whatever because of romance reasons. And he's still like,
because
I hate
of romance reasons. Oh, that just like made my stomach like drop like the way it does like when you're going down a steep hill. Like, oh, romance reasons.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, I hate you so much, and yet I want you right next to me all the time. So it's a really funny book too. So yeah, if you want to try another one of her books, I will. I feel like it's definitely not her longest book at all. But it's called By a Thread, and like I say, the heroine in it is good, and the snap between the enemies to lovers main characters is really, really good.
I have on hold with Libby Maggie Moves On because I've heard that's really good too.
It is really good.
So when that one comes available on Libby, I'll give it a read.
Yeah, that's a great book. He in that one, I will say, like the male main character Silas, he is head over heels for her from the jump, just absolutely from the jump, and it's nice, and it's like he's a real adult man person.
I love that. Isn't it funny how like romance is like it's just like it's the fantasy, but like the fantasy is like. He keeps a house.
Yeah, exactly. like be an adult
he's
man.
Grown.
And it's like I was talking to one of my girlfriends over the weekend, and we were talking about different romance books and how men are like, oh, I just don't understand what women want, and it's like literally pick up a romance novel,
dude.
Not like
the entire
not necessarily
a romance,
not necessarily a Minotaur romance novel. That's a little outside, but like just your average, everyday, run-of-the-mill contemporary romance novel. Read it.
If you want to take metaphor out of it, just pick up the Bromance Book Club.
Yeah.
Pick up that series.
Exactly.
Look, we have literally written it down for you.
Just read it. That's all you got to do. Just read it.
Just read it. You know what? You know what you could also do is just listen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's the
just
other
listen.
One. Mm-hmm.
We're actually not talking in circles. Like we're telling you exactly what's going on.
Oh, yeah.
Like just listen.
Exactly.
And then think, how can I do this?
Yeah. It's not.
And like it's
not hard.
One of the most rewarding things about like so like back in like March, my husband and I had like a conversation where we're literally gonna go into some therapy here, guys. So I was just having like an insecure moment, and like I was expressing it to Andrew, and I was like, these are the things I need. Like I just need you to hold my hand more. I need you to see me in public, touch me in public more, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he just does. Like, there is nothing more rewarding
Yeah.
than, like, I tell you my needs and you just do,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like,
Absolutely.
it's so nice. And, like, everyone deserves that.
Mhm.
We're not talking in circles. We're not talking in riddles. It's right there.
Yeah.
Just listen.
Mm-hmm. That's all you gotta do.
Yeah, we're not. And, like, the people I know, like, they're not changing the goalpost.
No.
It's still the same place. You just keep walking around it,
Mhm.
right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, just go to the
Absolutely.
goalpost, you a-hole. Like,
Absolutely. It hasn't
driving me
changed.
bonkers.
It's the same thing it's
Hasn't
always
changed.
been. Hasn't changed at all.
Yeah, just listen. Just listen. Listen and do.
That's
Like,
right.
dude. So, is there any... We're just getting to the end of our time. Is there anything else you'd like to mention or chat about? Or do you want to tell the folks where you're at in the world? Like, as far as, like, where you're at on the internets?
Oh, sure.
What you like
Yeah,
to
I'm
know.
happy to do that. So my website is efdoddwrites.com. I'm on Instagram for the most part. It's e.f.dodd, D-O-D-D, on Instagram. I have a Facebook author page, but I'm 98% sure that it was hacked a few hours ago while I was on my way home from work. So maybe don't look at it right now, but that will soon be
That
remedied. But yeah, the
blows.
main place to find me is on Instagram. And all of my books are on Kindle Unlimited. They're all on Amazon. So, please go check those out. And if you do, don't forget to leave a review.
Oh my gosh. Asking for a review is something I forget all of the time.
I hate it with their burning,
Like,
thriving passion, because it's like,
ugh.
it's hard enough as an indie author because you feel like you're constantly begging people to read your books. Buy my books,
Yeah.
read my books, support me, support me, support me.
Yeah.
And then, by
Yeah.
the way, after you've done that, I'm going to need you to go back to that website and leave a review.
Yeah. Yeah. Tell everybody.
Yes. Yes. It's hard, but we got to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my friends just had a YA book published.
Oh, good for them.
And I know, I'm so excited for her.
Yeah.
I can't wait to read it. But she was like, hey, if you're, you pick it up and you read it and, take a little baby selfie and share it with me on the internet. And I'm like, that's really cute too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just the things to remember, like you said, to ask as well. So
Yes. It's hard.
yeah, it's hard. It's hard. There's a lot of hats to wear, and like, you love your books and you want everyone to read them.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And so, like, how do you make it happen?
Exactly.
Which is a totally other podcast.
Oh yes.
Like, that is a whole hour right there.
Exactly.
So, listener, I am Marty V. You can find me mostly on Instagram right now at martyv.com, or I'm sorry, at martyvauthor on Instagram. Or you can go to martyv.com and sign up for my newsletter, which is another place that I'm remaining very active. And EF Dodd and I are going to coordinate a swap soon. So
Yes,
sign up.
absolutely.
Yeah, we're going to do our thing, chicken wing. And that's it.
Very good.
You have a lovely day.
Thanks so much.
Bye, listener. Bye.
Bye.